This is without a doubt the biggest angle grinder I've ever used. Let's see what it can do. About a week ago we had so much rain in this backyard that it almost flooded. As you can hear, it's back again, but this time I'm prepared. This week I installed a stormwater pipe. I used one existing down pipe from the house, I added another down pipe to the pergola, and then on the other side of the house I added another down pipe. So far with all this rain, it's holding up fine. Let me show you how I did it. To get the 90mm pipe into the existing concrete, I had to borrow a very, very big angle grinder from my neighbor and cut 2 slots. Once the cuts were made, I could come back and break the concrete with a sledgehammer and pickaxe. When I was happy with the depth, I moved on to the second trench. This one was a bit more difficult because it had steel mesh, or Rio, so that took a bit longer. I worked from one side to the other, cutting the Rio as I went. So as you can probably hear, the rain is coming down really, really hard now, but I'm staying nice and dry under my practically brand new pergola, which is pretty cool. So I just thought I'd take this moment to show you where I'm up to with digging out that hole through the concrete. So I've got pretty far down, and unfortunately I came across some pipes here which I'm not really sure what they're doing, so I don't want to just cut through them. So what I'm just going to do is run the stormwater pipe underneath that. I gotta say though, this is the perfect weather to be swinging a tool around. For the last 3 weeks, it's just been ridiculously hot. Working in the sun has been mental. This is a welcome change. It's the next day and time to lay the pipe. To make sure I didn't have any stops along the way, I went out to the store and bought a whole bunch of connectors. I've got some 90s, some 15 degrees, and some 22 degrees. And of course, a couple 45s. So I'm not sure if we're going to use them all, but I'd rather have them just in case. Let's get started. Now, one of the biggest problems when you're renovating an old house is that the sizes back then that they used of, say, timber and pipes weren't what they use today. There's a piece of pipe coming out of the gutter which doesn't connect directly to a piece of 90mm stormwater, but luckily the size of that pipe will fit the outside of a piece of 90mm coupling, so I should be able to find a piece that I can slot into there really tightly and make a watertight seal. what we have here is an inspection point, and what this is an opening to the system that you can use to clean it out if you ever need to. So to cover this up, you take one of these caps, and now your system's closed again. On that note, it's time for a break. And this video is not sponsored by Farmers Union Iced Coffee, but I'm going to drink it and tell you it's amazing, because it is. Now this is one of the parts in the renovation that can be a little bit demoralizing. If I look out in my backyard, there's just dirt everywhere, there's trenches cut, there's just stuff lying everywhere. And it's really difficult when you get to this point to say, right, I've got to do all this work to get it back to something that's decent. Because when you start the project, you might not have, in my case, the greatest backyard, but I had a backyard. Now I've got nothing, and I have to now take it from this to something. And Aaron Massey from Mr. Fix-It talks about this a little bit, and how with renovations you reach these sort of points where you feel like you want to give up because there's so much work and it just keeps coming and it's problem after problem. And this is definitely one of those moments for me, because it does feel like there's a lot of work still ahead, and going out there and just seeing a mess is pretty demoralizing. But with that said, it's step by step. You can only do one thing at a time, so just keep working through it, and eventually you do come out on top. And I know, still with a lot of work left to do, this backyard is going to look amazing once I'm done. Now that the downpipe is done, which was always going to be the most tricky part, let me quickly show you guys what's next. So from here we've got a trench cut through the yard, which runs all the way down to the back fence. And we'll put another T-joint here, and then that runs all the way along the yard. I've already cut all the trenches for these. And then we'll have another T-joint here, and then we're going to run up this pipe up to the gutter on the new pergola, and then from this T-joint we'll run back towards the house, and then there'll be a downpipe running from this gutter. So the reason I put the screw cap on is that because the system is constantly going to be full of water, if I ever want to drain it, I can dig this hole, take this cap off, and let all the water run out into the garden bed. I completely forgot that I needed to have an inspection point on this downpipe, so all I've had to do is chop a section out and put this T connector in. Now to attach the new downpipe to the gutter, I'm going to be using this little dude called a hopper. Now this is a 50mm hopper, which is not what you ideally want. You'd rather use something bigger like a 90mm, but the gutter is too small to accept a 90mm hopper. So all I'm going to be doing is using a 50mm hopper and then putting a 90mm pipe up to the gutter. So after much fiddling around with probably the trickiest part of the project, I've now managed to get all these bends and turns and curves lined up and glued together. So now I can hit the fast forward button and fill in all the dirt.
that's it, we're done. All that's left now is to put a couple of saddles onto some of the down pipes and run a pipe from this point out to the front of the yard. I'm not going to worry about doing that right now because I can't actually get to the point where I need to cut the trench because there's pavers in the way. But once those have been laid, then I'll think about that. So that's how you lay stormwater pipe. If I can, you can. If you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and click that thumbs up button. And if you haven't already, I'd love for you to subscribe. Thanks again for watching, and I'll talk to you guys soon.